All right, so we're back with part 2 of Cousin to Cousin. That's what I call the podcast. It's pretty good, right?
That's really good.
Yeah. It's like sister.
But cousin and cousin.
But cousin. That was a good show, wasn't it?
That was really good, yeah.
Yeah, good times.
Wow.
So, have you ever been keeping up? People went crazy after our first episode. They're like, oh my God, Abba, your cousin's cooler than you are. Blah, blah. I'm like, shut the fuck up. But people do like you. They do think you're really awesome. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people think they gravitate towards you so much?
I really don't know.
Yeah, why are you so awesome? Like, try to say the reason why without appearing like a narcissist.
Even me talking about myself right now is awkward, you know? I'm just like...
Really?
Yeah.
But you're so comfortable about talking about other people, you know, and abstract ideas. Why is that the idea of self is so weird to you?
Like talking about myself?
Yeah. Do you feel like asserting yourself is like... It's too much ego? Like, what's... No, you assert yourself very well. Like, why is it that talking about yourself is strange?
Yeah. I just feel like, you know, a lot more is said with actions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more that's said, you know, I guess just like showing up and being real in terms of like walking the talk as opposed to just talking about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I could be spending time asking questions and learning about other people. And then through that conversation, then they get to know who I am as well.
Right.
As opposed to blatantly being like, well, hello, this is who I am. This is what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'll just get to show people about
like,
how you move.
I'm not in a hurry.
But you like asking people about themselves. So to me, isn't like somebody's got to do the talking about themselves. So why not you? Why does it always have to be those around you?
Like, why am I listening to other people?
Yeah, because someone has to talk about themselves. If it's not you, it's the people around you.
Well, I choose my people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I'll choose who I want to sit with and share with and have that like level of like intimacy and vulnerability and closeness or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just don't open up to every single person. I'm open to listening and holding space, being there for people.
So you're fine with other people being vulnerable around you, but you're not necessarily interested in doing that regularly?
All the time? No.
But other people always have that space to be vulnerable with you.
If they want to, I'm there, yeah.
Interesting.
But it's like, you know, you go through, it was like training. I wasn't always like that, though.
What do you mean?
It's just like learning. There's a level of trust that you accord people, but at the same time, everybody's different and unique. But there's a feeling of mutual respect and safety. If I can feel safe with said person, then I'll open up and share. It's circumstantial too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just maybe my personality. It's just like take it easy. Just take it easy. Yeah.
Sorry, this talk was amazing.
You're enjoying that talk on that.
I'm just hearing you speak about yourself. I'm like, good. You do the talking.
I know. That's why you're eating your little shit. It's amazing.
I'm like you though. Like girls always say, Abby, you're so mysterious. I'm like, no. I just appear that way because I've been asking you questions all day long.
Yeah.
Every date I've ever been on. Girls like, I feel like you know a lot about me, but I know nothing about you. And I'm like, yeah. Because I've been asking the questions. And the reason why I ask about you instead of talking about me is because I know me. So I don't care to talk about me.
Exactly.
I'm curious about people.
100%.
But then they get frustrated with it because they're like, I need to know you. I'm like, all right, well, ask me some shit. And they always got shitty-ass questions.
What kind of questions do they ask you? Like,
so, like, how many people are in your family? Like, who gives a fuck? Go ahead, roll them eyes, tell them.
Well, that's, you know, people are just getting, in that case, probably also, like, it's new, you know, it's like you guys are getting to know one another. There's that level of, like, is it okay for me to ask certain questions? It's so funny. We were talking about this recently with a friend. It's just, like, I guess there are levels of connections, and we, like, crave this connection where we can be really real with one another. And
sure.
A lot of our need to, like, get into intimate relationships or, like, settings is to satisfy that need. But there's a pace, right? And there's a level of honesty that takes to get there. And, you know, they're just trying to, like, get to that place, but they're doing it at their own pace, and they've also been socialized and conditioned and programmed to behave in certain ways, so...
What makes you, like, so empathetic and understanding? Whereas I refer to these people as like shitty question askers. They're just like, well, they have this pace that they're moving at, and they're just like, what made you get to that place where you're like so understanding?
Life experiences, I've had so many different kinds of life experiences, but also listening and observing. Like as a kid, I spent so much time observing and listening,
Yeah.
And then you kind of get a gist of like how people function. And the minute you take time to listen to them, then it's a whole lot easier for them to feel safe around you. We don't actually know how to listen mostly. Even when we think we're listening, we're thinking about what we're gonna say to what that person is saying.
But some people just rattle off and they're repeating the same thing 5 times.
Monologues.
Yeah.
Because they want to hear themselves. Yeah.
No, or some people are just not very good communicators.
No, I know.
So sometimes I find myself like, all right, just finish this sentence because you've been rattling off for the same thing 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, and sometimes people they're not good at communicating. So I'm just like,
wouldn't that be amazing though if there were programs in schools, basics to actually know how to like listen to people and learn how to communicate effectively and stuff? That'd be great.
I don't think schools are places where they try to create like good human beings. They want you to be a functioning drone, and if you have apt capabilities, they'll funnel you towards like a special
specialized so you can.
But like the schools that they taught me in school, a lot of them was useless. I think the most formative part of school, honestly, was my interactions with other people and being socialized.
100%.
Very little had to do with it.
Yeah.
With the education, I slept through school. I slept every class.
I drew and slept through school as well.
Bro, I had so much drool on my binders.
Yeah.
I had more drool on my binders than I have ink on the papers. That's serious. Like there was like puddles of drool all over my binders. It was gross. Like I remember looking at it one time, like 5 years after high school, and I was like, "Ew, I did all that."
Yeah, I napped a lot in first year of university.
Yeah, you ever see like wet stains on that old mattress?
That is not cute.
That's what my binders look like. And I remember opening it and had like written on 3 pages. I was like, "Nigga, what was you doing?"
Why?
Yeah. I'm a high school dropout. I never finished high school.
I didn't know that.
I never finished.
Wow. What? For real?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, doesn't mean much really.
No.
Especially now that we have like access to so much information, and if you want to educate yourself, you can.
Yeah.
So.
But that's why people are like, so what university did you go to? You're so smart. And I'm like, first off, I'm really dumb. And secondly, I'm a high school dropout.
That's a good way to set the bar, Set the expectations real low.
That's right. That's what I liked about the military. They'll take high school dropouts. As long as you have like your before last grade done. I only have 2 credits left. And I thought about it, but I was like, I just didn't want to go. And you know me, if I don't want to do something...
There's no way in hell you're going to do it. I know. And did you ever think of going back to school?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. No, it never was an option for me.
No. I dropped out like 3 times.
High school?
No, university.
Really? Yeah. I didn't even spend my money. You know how fucking stingy I am?
I did.
Why did you drop out 3 times?
I got really bored. Yeah. I just learned really fast, but I also just didn't learn the way that like school was set up. I just wasn't motivated. I spent so much time learning outside and reading books and going on adventures, and I love learning though.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of learning, So, yeah.
Sorry, these tacos are delicious.
Yo, you were loving them.
Yo.
Round 2.
This place called Frida Tacos.
Where is it?
There's like 2 of them. There's one in St. Henry and one here. Yeah, JB was the one who took me. Yeah, great time.
Our dude.
Oh, whew. All right, take a little breather because these fish tacos are going to be
Goddamn.
great. But, which I thought don't go too far from me. But, I've been thinking about a lot about my mental well-being. It's been something that's been recurring. and I've always been in a decent place.
Yeah.
So I was having this conversation with someone, and they were talking to me about like their family problems, right?
Yeah.
And what they said to me was, "Abba, I'm in a home that's very dysfunctional, and I've been living there, and it's like killing me."
Yeah.
And so they're like, "What's your advice?" And I said, I could give you my advice, but I also grew up in a dysfunctional family, so I don't know if my advice worked. Here's the thing, right? I think it was like, so I've been just for the viewers' context, I moved out of my mom's place like when I was 17. I come from a family like 7 people. Not necessarily very close with most members of my family, like barely speak to them. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And about 2 years ago, I was at this Thanksgiving dinner. My friend, her name is Kate Davis. She's a comedian out of Toronto, owns like this big home. She got like a family, like, 5 kids, whole bunch of extended family. And she's like, "Yo, you want to come over for Thanksgiving dinner?" I'd never done Thanksgiving dinner, and you know me, I'm always down for a lot of new shit. So I sat in on this Thanksgiving dinner.
In Toronto.
Yeah, and people are having this supper, and they're enjoying each other's company. Everyone's sitting at the same table, talking to each other very amicably, like everyone's getting along. And I remember just seeing everyone at this dinner table, and then it dawned on me that I'm like, yo, I can't think of one time in my life where my whole family sat down for dinner. Ever.
Together.
Never.
Wow.
And just watching the way they interacted, I was like, oh, this is what a functional family looks like. I mean, I just always had a family. I never thought of it as dysfunctional or anything. I was like, I got what I got, and I cope with it.
Yeah.
But watching the way that they interacted, mother to son, and all this other stuff, I was just like, this is... And it wasn't like a button-up experience where everyone's trying to look preppy for it. It was that's how they are. And I was just like, oh... I just grown up in dysfunction for so long. I just assumed it was normal. That someone goes in the kitchen, grabs their food, and runs to their bedroom and eats there. Like, nobody ever gets together.
Yeah.
Right? And even beyond that.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. I'd be like, you're still in a good place. I'm like, I'm in a good place, kinda. But at the same time, it's like, you, I think, hit me up one time. You hit me up and you were like, yo, how's your sister? And I was like, oh, shit, I don't know. And what hit me wasn't the fact that I didn't know how she was. What really shocked me was like, I haven't even asked myself that question in like 4 or 5 years. Never even crossed my mind.
That's huge.
Never even thought about it. You know what I mean? Like some people
never?
have like never.
Like it's not. It's never.
Never.
Been...
I'm like, yo, how is she? Never. So when you asked me that, that's when it dawned. I'm like, and then I didn't feel bad or I didn't feel great. I'm like, the question that popped in my mind was, is that weird that I never think about it? Like for me, I'm so detached from everything.
Yeah.
You know, for me, if you're not part of my life, that's it. Like, you know, once there's that bridge is severed, I'm not someone who like looks back at things with regret or like it was like that bond is dead. That bond is dead. It is what it is. Like it ran its course, and I've just never thought about it. And so I told my friend, I'm like, bro, I could tell you what I did. I just got away from everything because that's what helped with my mental health. But I don't even know if that's the good solution because I don't know what are the psychological ramifications of severing those ties.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does to you. I still haven't reckoned with that.
Yeah.
So that was something that's been passed through my mind lately.
And has that, especially now during this COVID time, right? A lot of people have spent a lot of time alone, or have had more space than usual to like think about their lives. For you, do you feel like that's obviously something you've thought about, but like have you thought about reaching out or I guess building that bridge back up in some way?
Here's what's fucked up. Here's what's fucked up. It gets worse.
What?
So recently,
I
had one of my family members reach out. Like one of my sisters hit me up. So random. It was like in my Instagram DMs. And
we're talking about one of your sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it and I was like, okay. And I had zero desire to respond, but I kept asking myself, is this weird? I feel nothing about it. So I didn't respond.
You did not?
No.
You didn't?
No. And I'm like, how fucked up is it? You know, even if I don't feel anything, how I can understand how someone from the outside can look in and be like, that's a little fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's like a base narrative around what a family should look like and how it should interact.
Sure.
Like a healthy family, right?
Sure.
But then there are like multiple different alternative narratives of like that people are actually living, like realities people are actually living.
Yeah.
And especially stuff in the movies and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like you watch that stuff and then you're like, my family doesn't really look like that. Or to the contrary.
Really?
Maybe it does. I don't know.
Is that how you would watch movies? You
Not
see them?
always,
You would
no.
see them like, my family doesn't look like that? Because I've literally never looked at a movie in a movie family and be like, oh man, what am I feeling? I was just like, oh, that's just a thing. Like, it never dawned on me to reflect on my own family experience. You know what I mean? Like, I've
Yeah.
seen so many movies and it's never had that conversation.
Yeah.
I just always accepted, like, yeah, it's supposed to be like that, and other people maybe potentially live differently. I don't know. It was such a random thing. So, yeah, I get what you're saying about, like, we're all socialized to look at family, but also our family's fucking crazy. You know, like, our family just doesn't make any sense.
You mean
We
our
have, like,
family
a
at
grandfather.
large?
I have a grandfather who has, like, 30 kids, and that nigga's blind. How does that make any sense to anybody? 30 kids, man is blind. You know?
Yeah, he became blind later in life, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
still having kids.
Yeah.
He was still having kids when he was blind, you know? And
There's
there's all the infighting and all the contact. You know, for me, my emotional well-being is so important. And so when I'm in an environment where, like, problems are constantly brought up, I'm just like, yo, just keep me out of it. I remember even when my dad died, you know, there's, like, infighting over land and, like, inheritance. And I'm like, listen, you guys keep everything. I don't know how much money's worth. I don't really care. Keep every dollar. Keep every penny. Just don't come talk to me.
Yeah.
I didn't want anything to do. And they're like, are you sure? I was like, don't ever call me again. I don't want to hear about none of this. I don't want to hear about you guys. I don't want to hear about your problems. Like, because that's what you guys think about when someone dies. Like, yo, get away from me. And so just knowing how dysfunctional these people are, I'm like, my life is good. At least I think it is, you know?
Yeah. I also feel like, you know, there's intergenerational implications to that, right? You know, when people experience pain, they tend to, like, project that pain again and onto the people that they love until it's, like, dealt with. It creates chaos, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's still really healthy, I think that you're, like, looking at it and being like, is this weird? Is this normal?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because essentially they are your siblings, right?
Right.
And you may or may not want to have a relationship with them. That's up to you. But it's healthy to ask yourself questions like,
Right.
Is my behavior off? Is it weird? You know, like, could I live differently? Or just to, like, keep things fresh with yourself. Investigate and, I guess, grow to a certain extent.
I remember when I told you, you were shocked.
At first?
Yeah.
Because I'm super tight with my brother.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my brother and I are, like, friends. Like, actual friends. But we're just two. And we had a very different upbringing than you did. Very different.
Yeah. Substantially different.
Yeah. You had a wild experience. Wild. So, kind of makes sense. And you don't like drama, so I can understand. It was the same for us. We were, like, in our own world, my brother and I. So, which I think explains why we're so tight. The three of us are a lot more. Yes.
Yeah, I'm really close to the both of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just pretty amazing.
Yeah. Family's weird.
I know.
Family's a weird concept. I've never really had a proper understanding of it.
Okay, but I have a question, though. If you were to, like, you have your own family, we're getting around to that age where these are questions that may or may not be around in our sphere, even if it's not a personal choice. Is that so? How would you like to, I guess, build your family? Do you have a vision for that? Is there have you thought of it? Value system.
Yeah, for sure. Something I think about a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I told you I want kids.
Yeah.
I'm at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not complicated. Just want to create a good, healthy environment where they have my guidance if they need it, but they're really just given space to do what they want. That's it. Just want to be present. I want to be present and You know, it's like a watching eye, but not necessarily an overbearing parent. I'm not I don't see myself as a strict person. I just want to be present and inform them that I'm present.
Yeah.
And that I'm here when questions are. But I'm a hands-off kind of teacher.
Yeah.
Same as I imagine with my parenting. So, yeah. Same time, my mom did a lot of things right in a weird way, and I think for me, I just want to give my kids that opportunity to have that. But I'll be honest with you, I'm really not worried about doing it wrong. Whatever dysfunctions I may have with my own family doesn't mean I'm not capable of having good bonds with people.
Yeah.
They're just bonds I choose and bonds I think are healthy. In that same token, if my kids saw me as an abusive man and they kind of broke that bond, I wouldn't be mad at them.
Yeah.
It would make me sad.
Yeah.
Because I failed, but wouldn't be mad at them. I'm not someone who believes the idea that family no matter what. No, some people need to be discarded. For me. People can have different values.
Boundaries.
But for me, my emotional sanctity is super. I have too many responsibilities and too much going on for me to allow to be weighed down by people who want to bring me down. You know?
Yeah. Your peace, essentially, like your peace of mind outweighs your need to like please other people.
For sure.
Within a family setting.
For sure.
That's sick, yeah.
Yeah. I think it should always be like that. That's how you hold people accountable for what they do. I think with family, sometimes abuse is like enabled by the fact that it's family, so they're going to stick around for you. I'm like, no, I'm not going to enable whatever kind of behavior that you have because you think I'm not going to leave. No, if you engage in that kind of behavior that's that morally reprehensible, then you will suffer those consequences. Because to me, it's like I would never think of doing something like that to somebody I loved. And if that's how you engage and that's how you sometimes display your love, you take it for granted, that's fine. But you will suffer those consequences. Yeah.
That's really healthy, actually, to just to know when to say no and when to say enough is enough.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people do take on, abuse because they don't think they can, and also they're scared and they might not have somewhere to go. But if you do have the power to be able to say no and the independence and to move away from that,
right.
Why not? Yeah.
Here's the other flip side, though. You're missing out on these tacos.
Yo, they look so good.
Yo, I'm telling you, this taco spot is literally the greatest in town. Flip side.
Frida. Flip
side is I'm not great at keeping in touch with people, period. Even the people that I do love. Acts of gestures, like, yo, I need you out here on this date for this for me. I will travel wherever need be. I was like, all right, I got to pay these things off and handle this. I'll take care of it for you. I can do those gestures.
Yeah.
But in terms of, continuous contact or checking in regularly, I'm terrible. And...
At least you know it.
What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, at least you're aware of it.
Okay. I thought you were looking at me like, yeah, nigga, you are bad.
Well, I mean, you're not the greatest, but... With me, I feel like you make an effort.
Yeah, I definitely do.
And I recognize that.
Okay,
you
good.
know?
You better. Because
okay.
It's an effort.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do recognize that.
And I think that's something I'd like to work on a little bit.
Why do you think that is? Not why you want to work on it, but why do you think that is that you have a hard time kind of checking
out of sight, out of mind? If you're coming into town and you need a place to stay, you want to have dinner, make time for you, no problem. But if you are busy with stuff and I'm busy, I'm just focused on what I'm doing. But I think, obviously as you get older, you value those bonds a lot more. So you want to make more of an effort to maintain them and just remind those people that you're present and there. And so that's what I'm going to do. I call, my mom every week or two, check in, try to make an effort to visit every now and then to show face. But if my mom called me tomorrow, I need this, and the day after I need this, I'm like, got you. That's just so easy for me. To just act is easy for me. But to check in, I have a hard time.
Do you feel like there's a difference between emotionally connecting with people and because it might be your form of showing love too. You know how different people have different love languages and how they express their care and their love.
Right, keep going.
You might also just have... I'm not making excuses for you right now, eh?
Yeah, no worries. Keep going.
But it's just saying that it might also be that you have a specific way of showing your care that's more action-based. and that you struggle a little bit more with things that are a little less like not tangible, you know? So it's just a matter of, I guess, learning and like developing. And for some of us, it might be different. Like some people, it's all talk and no actual walk.
Yeah.
Some people, it's more walk than talk.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fine, but you just, I guess, find the in-between for yourself, you know?
Yeah, I know. I've been constantly assessing that kind of stuff over the last 2 years. Sure. No, just looking at it.
Do you choose your people?
What do you mean?
Like there are people in your environment that you feel you want to do that more with? Is that why you're, like, you've noticed that there's like a lack there, or like that you'd want to be more proactive?
Yeah, just
like
let them know.
in
Just
and,
remind them, you know, just, hey,
Yeah.
I'm here. You know, like, I'm here if you need anything, whatever. I got you.
Yeah.
You know, just remind them that whatever lonely experience that they may be living, they're not necessarily as alone as they think they are.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of being more mature with that process. Yeah.
Yeah, and people might not say it, but they appreciate it too, you know?
I don't care.
You don't care.
No. Someone does that to me, I don't care.
You're very particular, though.
Yeah, I don't care at all. I have people do that to me sometimes.
And you don't.
Hey, Ab, what's up? How you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. How you? Like, I just have very little to. I get it though. I can appreciate that they're trying to do something good, so I won't be rude about it and be like, fuck off. You know, like, no, I won't do that because I understand what they're trying to do. I'm not a total asshole. But if they didn't do it, I wouldn't care at all. Yeah.
Like you don't feel, you're not triggered in any way, like a positive way. You don't get any emotional reward from it at all.
Let me see. Let me think about a call. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe I do. Maybe I'm not realizing it. I feel like those conversations are brief though. Like I've had a few homies call me over the last year or so. They're like, "Yo, man, just want to check in. How you doing? Touch base." I'm like, "Yo, I'm good. You?" And then, cool, B. Yeah. Well, if you need to come by and have lunch, let's do that sometime. And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." So maybe there's something there. Like
a little bit of an appreciation.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like nothing would have changed if they didn't do it, but maybe the fact that they did do it. I was like, okay, cool. Not much though. I'll be honest.
I'm like poking you, but like.
Go ahead.
It's just like, do you think possibly there's like a level of being numb, of like habit? Because, you know, when you've been doing something for a really long time, a certain way,
right?
You're conditioned and used to being that way, right? So you don't really know another reality. So you're like not in touch with the another possibility. You know what I mean? That might exist.
Right.
Because you're a human being,
right,
and you got choices and whatever, but like, could it be that you're just numb to it?
It's possible.
Yeah.
I think maybe I just don't register it in my mind because I think of like the times when I see those people.
Yeah.
And it's such a high moment that I'm like, this is just like, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't register at all for me. Like when I spend time with these people, it's a fucking blast.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But when you're just like, hey man, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Because I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how like we can numb ourselves though like that. Like I don't know if you actually do it or not, but like I know I'm really good at numbing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really good at it. I just like it takes an active effort for me to be like, well,
that was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I recognize it, but
maybe it also is like such a low frequency form of communication that it just doesn't register well. You know, it's just like affection in person and affection online. It's like,
Of course, affection online is obviously not the same thing as affection in person.
No. So
obviously.
So I think that's why. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there's like a new girl that pops on the scene. You're like, whoa, and that's always fun because then you're imagining the potential future.
Yeah.
But you know, as far as like, you know, someone that you're like really in love with, and you guys been seeing each other for years, and they're like, how's your day? You're just like, good.
How's your day? Comfortable.
Yeah. It's just, there's nothing. I don't know. To me, it just does it. But then I spend time with people, and then it's always fun and enjoyable. It's like other conversations. I'm like, yo, you good? Yeah, cool, great. Don't talk more than that. Then I see you and we chop it up big time, and it's like, this is great, you know. So for me, it's never a substitute, nor is it ever going to be anything of value. So that's how I feel about that. That's how is it right? I don't know. Cause I've met some like absolutely gorgeous women, but then they start fucking yapping, and I'm just like, ugh. You're
what do you mean by
give me
yapping?
a headache. It's like, you know when people are talking but they're not saying nothing? Like, this talk is unnecessary.
Okay, you're gonna have to elaborate more.
It's just like...
What does that mean?
It's like, oh, why did you call me yesterday? I'm like, yeah, I just feel like you don't have as much time as you used to. And just like, oh, feel like you're just like, well, yeah, because I put out videos every day and I work every day, so you know this, but I still make an effort to message you back. Like, why is this a problem? Like, you find the fact that I'm ambitious, desirable, but then when I still make the modicum, you know, like I make the effort to give you like this small amount of free time, it's like, why is this a problem? I need you to just, because if you're already this annoying at the beginning over some bullshit, you know, it's not like I'm meeting up with this person that I'm smashing and then I never talk. No, it's not even that. I'm not even smashing. I'm not doing nothing.
You're just
and this
building
person's
a connection.
still annoying. And I was just like, I can't do it. I won't even sleep with you to open that floodgate. But I find this is something real to you. I find myself walking away from a lot of people before I ever sleep together, just because I know that if I do and this goes south, they're going to be so fucking annoying. So I'm not even going to just bother to open that door. I'm going to walk away before we even touch each other.
Okay, so what's your not ideal? Yeah, I guess ideal partnership would look like. You being you, knowing your personality, your values, and all that stuff.
Man, I just...
What are you
I need
like,
serenity.
Peace, eh?
Yeah, like I have a peaceful state. I come home, it's peaceful. My bills are settled. My finances are good. My family, the ones I choose, are great. We're set. Don't come here and disrupt everything. Either you make it better, but you certainly won't be allowed to make it worse. That's it. Beyond that, I'm not crazy picky. But, you know, just to maintain peace, you have to have diplomatic skills.
Y'all heard that? Diplomatic. You're looking for diplomatic.
No, but it sounds so, but like you have to understand compromise. You have to understand how to communicate. You have to understand to be empathetic. You have to understand to take yourself out of the situation, understand where the other person's coming from. Really.
100%.
And if you're not able to do that, if I have to repeat it multiple times, I'm not here to work through your trauma with you. You know?
Yeah.
Like
that
at some
work is
point,
your own,
that's your own work, and you can't just put on me the consequences of your life's problems and expect me to just sit there and be your whipping boy. No. I didn't come in this relationship with my trauma and then keep pressing it on you. No. My trauma may be things that make me deal with problems within myself, but I rarely project my bullshit on other people. So I just don't like the idea that because I'm attracted to you and I like you, that I somehow have to tolerate a whole bunch of negative input all the time.
So somebody who's like would you say somebody who's actively working on themselves, like, you know, taking responsibility for their emotions, for their thoughts, you know what I mean? So that when you're actually together, it makes the experience enjoyable, but also if there are things that come up, you could talk about it, you can move through it, and it's
having
like,
problems is fine.
Of course, it's part of life. Like,
what's not fine is you don't know how to cope with it, and then you take it on the people around you. Whether it's family, whether it's my partner, whether it's my friends, you don't have that right. You're having a bad day, okay, cool. Come here, let's talk.
Yeah.
But don't come here and breaking shit in my home because you had a bad day. That's not the way it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find like people are just very irresponsible. They think like their partners are supposed to be like their emotional punching bag.
Well, it's so interesting because I think her name is The Holistic Doctor, which I really love on Instagram, and although I'm not on Instagram anymore, but when I was, she talks a lot about, you know, self-parenting, your emotions and your psychological state, and when you're being triggered or whatever. And I think a lot of us have not learned tools to self-regulate. So when we're in relationships, they're very much mirrors, right? Don't you find? So when you're in a relationship with other people, it's like, if there's something, you're more easily triggered, I think, when you're in an intimate relationship setting, for a lot of people, at least, you know?
Sure, I could see that.
Yeah, so it's like the perfect place to learn, but also if you don't have tools to parent yourself, then for sure you're going to end up projecting your unprocessed trauma and your baggage on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And that just really, I think, takes away from like the experience you can have with the other person, like the joy you can experience with them, the growth, whatever, the peace, but also like it gets heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everybody has their trauma. Everybody has their difficult experiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess carving out the personal space to work on that, and then being able to talk about it without necessarily making the other person your therapist. Because they're your partner, they're not your therapist.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a place for everything.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. You can open up.
For sure.
You can talk about these things.
Of course, yeah.
Some people don't know the difference between like being open and then inflicting pain on others. Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah.
That's a lot. So
that is a lot.
I don't think I'm asking for the moon and the sun. Like even in terms of attractiveness, like I don't need my girl to be a 9 or a 10 or anything like that. I just want to be sexually attracted. I'm good. I'm not someone who's so axed on looks and shit like that. So for me, it really just comes down to how you handle problems and how you go about life. You know, because at the end of the day, if I choose you as my partner, what I'm also thinking about is like, what kind of values are you going to impart on my children?
Like if you were to, when you decide to build a family, provided you do want to, yeah.
Yeah, like what kind of mother are you going to make to them? Not in terms of like your motherly aptitudes, but like values that you're going to impart.
Yeah. So like your matching value systems is important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even not, even if, yeah. Essentially matching for,
yeah.
That's how you can definitely say it that way. So, yeah, that constantly runs through my mind. I'm just trying to make a responsible choice. But, you know.
I'm crossing my fingers for you. I hope it, you know.
I mean, hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not someone who's like looking at the outcome like, Jesus, let this be the one. You know.
Like hell bent on making it. Yeah.
No, I'm not delusional about these kind of things. If all things work personality-wise and, you know, we end up having similar goals. You know, like if I met a girl and she's like, I want to live, like that happened to me. Another one was like really great, but this person insisted on living on a farm and only having one child maximum. Actually, no, she didn't want to have kids. That's what I remember.
She wants to live on a farm and not have kids.
Yeah. And I was like, that's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, you're not trying to live on a farm is what it is.
This is the no kids especially.
Oh, it's the no kids. Okay.
You know, I could imagine myself living far from the city at some point.
Yeah.
But I could not imagine myself not ever having children. And it sounds like a premature thing to do early on. Maybe she'll change her mind, but I'm like, that's not fair to either of us. It's not fair to her to expect her to change on something she fundamentally doesn't want, which is such 100%. A huge thing. It's not like I want a Corvette and she wants a Ferrari. No, this is like one of the most fundamental aspects to any relationship building block.
Yeah.
You know?
It's good to be transparent and also not expect the other person to like bend to your needs.
Yeah, exactly. So
you know? that
kind of put a wrench into things.
Yeah, it's not really a thing you can agree to disagree. It's just like different different lifestyles.
I want an open relationship. I want a monogamous one. We got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just dating responsibly.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. I want to make sure that the choices I make sense. That's what it comes down to.
Dating responsibly, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's something I've had to really develop over 3 years. Here's a concept I've been thinking about. Probably wrap it on that. I've been thinking a lot about the idea of sometimes in dating you have to save people from themselves.
Okay, let's unpack this. How so?
Sometimes you know more about the situation, and it sounds arrogant, but it's very true, and I've had this happen numerous times. Sometimes you have a better perspective on the emotional situation of both parties than the other person involved. Because sometimes the other person involved is operating off of a wish rather than what's actually going on. They wish for a specific outcome, but they don't actually live in that reality. So
present moment.
Yes, and so what that means is that like, saving them for themselves, like you see that this is going to go badly for them before they can see it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I understand. Yeah,
do you? Yeah. Okay, so tell me what you understand. Go ahead.
But from what I'm getting from what you're saying, it's like you're getting a better sense of the situation from what they're saying. You could read where this is going. You could kind of see where the trajectory of this relationship or whatever it is outcome that they're holding or what their expectations are.
Right.
Yeah, and so how do you handle that though? For in your case, how do you?
I just make the decision for the
Yeah.
both parties, regardless of whether they're okay with it or not. I've seen what happens when I don't make the decision and I ignore that, because you want to be able to be like, yo, you're an adult, you're responsible, but a lot of people are not emotionally responsible.
Well, also because a lot of people are not aware of what they're actually feeling.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the practice of like sitting with your emotions, of actually knowing what you're feeling.
Yeah.
We're often in like a hyper reactive state as opposed to being present in the moment,
Right.
and being aware of what you're feeling.
So give me an example that you had that experience in your life, because you look like you was flashing back to shit. So go ahead.
Okay, in what regards? Which part of that?
Which time did you have to save someone from themselves?
I wouldn't call it saving because like I'm not in the business of saving people, like personally speaking.
It's just a figurative way of saying like you're doing what's right for both parties.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So so many ways, you know. Jesus, like it's.
I know you know. That's why I brought this up.
So many ways. You got to be careful too, because like you can't go in there with like the Superman complex or the Superwoman complex where you're like, you're doing things wrong and I'm gonna save you from yourself. Like, no, that's like 110% codependency right there. You know, you're actually.
Well, I wouldn't call it codependency only because I'm not trying to make this person dependent on me. What I am trying to do, right, however, is go to the outcome I know is going to best serve the both of us, because the one that you want is impossible.
Okay, but give me a concrete example.
So, for example, if I'm seeing a girl and I tell her, for example, if I'm just hypothetical, I don't want kids. She says, okay, I'm okay with that. But I know that she's not okay with that based off of her behavior and the other things that she's saying subliminally and how much she cries when she sees other people with kids, all that little fucking...
Okay, so wait. So what you're saying is that you can sense a level of dishonesty.
Yes.
And it's not genuine.
Yes, because she's living in fantasy land.
Yeah.
She's thinking in her head that I'm going to change my mind. So she's going to be patient and hoping for that outcome.
Yeah. People pleasing.
Right? So that's what I mean. I'm not trying to make this person codependent. I'm just knowing that we're going to go off in a different direction. Mm-hmm. She wants to go to Cancun. I want to go to New Brunswick. And she's going to be severely disappointed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I see it. And sometimes people don't want to see things for what they are. So that's what I mean.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Because reality a lot of times is not as pretty as you'd like it. That sounds, I know, Captain Obvious over here, but like, you know, sometimes this obvious thing is not very obvious to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because often the reality is a little bit uncomfortable. And you have to have conversations that are not very cute, you know, and it may come to a really positive outcome, but that level of honesty often creates intimacy. But if you're in the business of people pleasing, especially within the setting of a relationship,
right,
where you want that other person to like you at, you know, any costs, then you're almost like in some way sabotaging the potential of the relationship because you're not being real. But if you can put what you know what I mean?
Yeah, you only might be alpha, but you preaching right now. Let's go. Yeah, this is cousin to cousin, but this turned out to be Abba and preach. Get it, girl. Let's go. Oh, what just happened right there? You preaching.
No.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Let us know in the comments. Is she preaching right now? Because she preaching, right? Y'all heard that shit. Testify. Yes, go on. Hit him.
Oh, this boy.
Yeah.
But for real, it's actually, it takes away a lot.
Yeah.
It takes away from, you know, it robs you of the possibility of
Can I just take a second? You don't have the Ethiopian forehead. It just dawned on me.
What kind of forehead do I have?
No, you just have like a regular forehead. Yeah. You know, like you know how us niggas all got this. Yeah. You don't have it. I think you know you don't have it either. Yeah, exactly. Don't be looking confused. Like, what kind of forehead?
I just never had somebody call me out.
Yeah.
On the fact that I don't have a traditionally Ethiopian forehead.
Yeah, no worries.
But I'm glad we got that out. You know.
Yeah. It was. I was just staring at your forehead. I was like, damn, is she really one of us?
Whoa.
Okay, sorry, I cut you off twice now.
Shade.
So yes, you were saying basically that I don't know what you were saying.
Yeah, basically saying it like robs you of the possibility of actually having a good relationship, even if y'all are not on the same page. Like that, the fact that you guys can be honest might create a level of intimacy that another door might open up. But who the fuck knows? You know?
Yeah.
So.
Can you give us an example of a situation that you're in? Because I gave you one.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a situation?
Sure.
What was that? What was that? You were mirroring me. Can you? Okay. All right. Asshole, go ahead. This girl over here making me look goofy.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, like, I've been in situations in the past where, like, you know, I was more invested in making the other person comfortable about their reality as opposed to being honest about what I really wanted because I didn't want to disappoint them. But in the long run, that shit turns out to be a disappointment anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Instead of being like, no, actually, this is what I want. This makes me uncomfortable. It's just because I didn't also have that dialogue, that honest dialogue with myself first. And if you don't actually have that honest dialogue with yourself, it's really hard to show up to the table with another person and be like, well, you know, this is what it is. Because you're just hoping that the other person would, like, read your mind, which nobody reads anybody's mind if you don't spell it out.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Stacko.
Sad but true.
Simple.
See? So it might be uncomfortable, but just speak your truth.
Yeah.
You know, just be honest, as uncomfortable as it is.
Yeah. And
something beautiful might come out of it.
I agree. I think you are stifling any kind of potential when you're not seeing the situation for what it is.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that's why I know, like, the idea of, like, saving people from themselves sounds arrogant, but it is something that people sometimes have to do. Yeah. It is something, like, I remember I was dating this one girl, and a year in, I was starting to realize that I can't do this long term. It's not working for me. Mm-hmm. So I told her, like, I didn't want to be in this serious relationship. She said, well, then we can just do it casually. And I was like, you don't want that. But she insisted, and she started crying, and I felt bad because I didn't want to disappoint her, didn't want to hurt her.
Yeah.
But what I should have done was save her from herself, because it led to a bigger hurt later on, because she was not living, and that hurt me. That I didn't make the responsible dating. I didn't make the responsible choice for the both of us, because she wasn't emotionally mature enough to make that decision for herself. And it sounds like I'm babying her, but the truth is, there's a lot of people who don't engage in dating responsibly, meaning they don't assert what their needs are, and in the effort to get their fix and to get what they need emotionally, they will sacrifice their values, and that's not a good way to date. So I know it sounds arrogant, but it is. There's no better way of saying it.
That's so well said. You know what you just said about, like, satisfying that need. It's like it's like a 2-tier cake. It's like, first of all, if you don't actually know what your needs are already there, it's kind of difficult to ask for what you want. But then on top of that, if you're committed to pleasing the other person, or you're committed more so to filling that, like, lack that you're experiencing, that other person is not gonna show up for that.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might be temporary. You know, you might feel good for a little bit, but not in the long run. Not if you want to build something that's you know what I mean, sustainable and true. And
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Do you find that it's difficult then in this day and age now, with, like, social media and, like, dating being the way that it is, being more online than anything else?
Sure. Yeah. To what?
To get to these places of, like, actual authentic.
No, because I think whether it's online or in person, people find ways to display their emotional maturity. Like, at least for me, I can kind of perceive it pretty easily just on conversation alone. So, no, I think people will show you that kind of attribute if you talk to them long enough. So for me, it's never been a problem, but I can see how it's a problem for other people. But yeah, once you see it, you gotta acknowledge it, and you have to be responsible. Yeah.
That's some solid advice right there.
Yeah.
Being responsible dating.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I call it. Like, I date responsibly now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess some people call it conscious dating, or, like.
Really?
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a term. It's a very real term. Yeah. Conscious dating.
Can't cringe at that if I said responsible dating. It's like, it sounds similar. I would create a responsible. This is my little baby. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I came up with the term. Yeah. Yeah, just be cognizant of what the other person's going through and be. It's like this person go through like a mental breakdown, and you know that, and you enter their life. Be responsible with like knowing that they're in a fragile state. Is it saving them from themselves? Yeah. Sometimes people don't necessarily have the aptitude to be able to manage situations. I recognize that some people are in a very particularly sensitive place, and if I did the wrong thing, it would set them off. Like, yeah, you sometimes have to save them from themselves. Even though they want to see you, you may not be the person to see them if you know you don't have that same intention. Yeah,
this is where the word no comes in.
So, you know, I've talked about this like briefly. Like people are like, that sounds arrogant, but I'm like, I'm not trying to be. It's actually trying to be empathetic.
I think it sounds arrogant because you're using the word save.
Yeah.
So you're assuming people are getting the impression that you're assuming that the other person doesn't have all the faculties to make the right decision.
They don't.
But the fact of
So sorry.
Me trying to like.
I'm sorry. How many times do we sit here and we listen to people talk about their relationship and they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm in this relationship where, you know, he talks down to me. And I'm just like, come on.
Emotional intelligence. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is like the name of the game, but it's not like everybody has it all the time. It's not on. But it can be developed.
But I see what you're saying about the word save. It almost makes you sound like I'm the hero, and I really don't think of myself.
It's not cute, you know?
I get that. And I don't think of myself that way. That being said, because I care about people, I just don't want to see them hurt. And I know they're going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like...
You're basically making a decision for the both of you that you know will benefit you guys long term.
Yeah. But
even if it's not the popular
yeah
choice, you know, or if it's difficult.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, it's also really weird when you see where things are going and the other person doesn't. And you try to explain like this is a bad idea and like I don't understand why. And I'm like, oh, that's the problem. Like you're really not seeing why this is a problem. Yeah, but can we work through it? I'm like, no.
Have you had situations though where you feel like you could potentially work through it, but that you jumped ship? Maybe, potentially. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no,
here.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Because like a lot of relationships go through cycles and ups and downs.
Probably not relationships. Maybe some smaller dating experiences. Yeah. But generally, if something's really good for me, if I left a situation, it generally wasn't because I didn't think I could work through something. If I left a situation, it's probably just because of like probably just because I quit. I mean, it's not like we went through a turbulent time or anything like that. I just gave up.
Like, okay.
Yeah, maybe that sounds similar, but like I think it's not like something happened and I'm like we could work through this. It's just like I don't want to see this person anymore.
Like you lost.
And it's like, well, and normally sometimes that was born out of frivolous things. Not recognizing that's like sometimes like that honeymoon stage doesn't last. There's other things that it evolves into. No, so there's a couple of times where I'm like, maybe I could just stick that out, and then maybe it would have been something to keep looking at. So I guess you're not wrong in what your assessment is. Mm-hmm. There's like 2-3 times I could have imagined that. Yeah. But
yeah, goddamn, like the whole honeymoon phase when you first meet, and it's like, super cute and exciting. You're like, new person. But for sure, that's like bound to fade.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You know?
You're right. No, I think he's
that's
here.
Probably our dude.
Yeah, well, that's the end of this episode. Peace.